I'm delighted to take part in today's event marking the 20th anniversary of the twinning of London and Berlin. Thank you to London and Partners and Berlin Partner for organising it. A great opportunity to celebrate the important relationship between London and Berlin. Berlin and London have a lot in common. Both are bustling capitals, dynamic outward-looking cities, and leading hubs for business, talent, and culture. With their thriving startup ecosystems, London and Berlin are driving innovation and growth in Europe. Together, they tackle global challenges such as climate change and the current pandemic. The close partnership between London and Berlin is crucial to our bilateral relationship. London is a leading destination for Berlin companies looking to expand outside of Germany, ranking second only behind Paris. Berlin is the #1 city in Germany for foreign direct investment from the UK. It's also a popular choice for British visitors and expats. British tourists make up the largest visitor contingent to Berlin, and more than 20,000 Brits have found their new home here. At the British Embassy this year, we celebrate 20 years since the opening of our building. We look back to events at the Embassy and in Berlin that illustrate the UK-German friendship and cooperation. A recent example is the Green Tech Festival, which took place in Berlin this year and will launch in London in 2021 as part of a hybrid conference on green finance. It's great to see so many stakeholders and partners here today to celebrate the 20th twinning anniversary and to explore the diversity, creativity, and entrepreneurship of London and Berlin. Thank you. And now over to Miriam Duca.
The new UK ambassador to Germany. My name is Miriam Duca, and I'm the Chief Representative of London and Partners in Germany. Thanks for joining our CEO talk with Stefan Franzke, CEO of Berlin Partner, Berlin's Economic Development Agency, and Laura Citron, CEO of London and Partners, the International Trade, Investment and Promotion Agency for London. Welcome, Laura. Welcome, Stefan. We've just heard it from the mayors. So despite the fact that the transition period with the EU ends later this month, there has never been a more important time for London and Berlin to work together, to promote and live our common values and tackle global challenges. Jill also mentioned it. London and Berlin are creative and diverse cities. They're innovation hubs that attract talent and businesses from all over the world. There are many similarities that make London and Berlin natural partners for collaboration. And there seems to be mutual appetite to work together. So before we look into some brighter topics, we cannot ignore what is going on around the world at the moment. Brexit lies ahead, days ahead of us, and the entire world, our countries, and both our cities, in particular their people, culture, and businesses, have been hit by the current COVID pandemic. Laura and Stefan, as the promotional agencies of Berlin and London, what have you done to support your respective businesses? And what are your plans going forward? Maybe Laura first.
Thanks, Miriam, and great to be here. You're absolutely right. It's been a tough year for London with the pandemic, and I think what it's really showed us is that some of the strengths that make London the amazing city that it is, the fact that it is a very big city, hugely open and international, based on people coming in and out, but also the fact that we are very reliant on public transport. 80% of our journeys are made by public transport. These are all great strengths of London, but in a global pandemic, they are very real vulnerabilities for the city. And so it's been a tough year for us. Our focus has been very much on supporting our business communities to be resilient through the crisis and to prepare for recovery. And I feel there's been a real difference in the way that the pandemic has impacted our tech businesses versus, of course, our more consumer-facing businesses in tourism, leisure, retail, culture, hospitality. On the tech side, our focus has very much been on keeping business going. So we've been continuing to run our full accelerator programs for startups and scale-ups to welcome new businesses expanding into London from around the world, including from Berlin. And entrepreneurs, after everyone took a few weeks to realize that actually you can do business virtually and it's okay, we've been able to keep going. And we've actually had a really good year, seen some fantastic investments into London, seen some really great new partnerships and commercial wins for the city. So that's been great. It's quite a different story for our tourism, hospitality, culture businesses who are obviously continue to be hit very hard by the pandemic, and we are expecting more lockdown for London, just as Berlin is expecting a further lockdown this week. So there our focus has really been on supporting the businesses to be resilient through the pandemic, making sure they understand how to access government support, how to manage their cash flow and their staff, but also very much on consumer confidence. Whilst, a huge amount of our demand in London is typically from international tourists, we are a city of 9 million people. And so we've been really working hard to make sure that Londoners feel safe and confident and feel that they can go out and spend in the London economy safely. So that's really been our focus on the consumer side. But I think next year, hopefully with the vaccine, will be a much better year for both sets of industries. But we've really admired the way also that Berlin has handled the pandemic this year. And I'm sure Stefan will have some interesting things to say on that.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Here in Berlin, I think it's really similar to our sister city in London. This was really a crazy year. On the one hand, we are like London, a really open and vibrant city in normal days, and we laugh when business travelers and our hospitalities are open for the whole world and for the people of London. And this year, only 30% of the people which in normal days are coming to the city are here in Berlin. This is not a good sign for the openness of a business and of our city. And a long time ago, we decided to build a new airport. And this airport, it was for the past, to be honest, for the past last years, a little joke, because the opening ceremony will be going in the future. And in the future, now we have our new airport, but no people are there to use it. On the other side, our established industry, especially in the energy sector, in the mobility sector, in the health sector, are really on a good trip. They do their homework in the field of digitalization and innovation in the past years, and now they have the opportunity to offer jobs and doing business in these pandemic times. And with our vibrant startup ecosystem in the fields of AI, in the field of smart city or IoT or fintech, they disrupted more and more. And for these fields of branch, it was a quite good year. So I think it's very similar to London.
Thanks so much, Stefan. Laura, we can see something on the top of your, whatever is behind you. I love Berlin, exactly. So you have visited and actually lived in Germany at different times. We talked about it earlier today. You have also a personal connection to Berlin. but what makes Germany and Berlin in particular an exciting partner for London and Partners?
Yeah, I love Germany. I'm a huge fan of Germany, and I particularly love Berlin. And I think I love Berlin because it feels so free. There is such a feeling of freedom and that anything is possible in Berlin, and I love that. I also love the creativity in Berlin. You just walk around and you can feel that it's a very creative and exciting city. I think coming from London, I also love the space. You have a lot of space in Berlin, which for a capital city is really unusual, and we certainly don't. It makes London feel much more squashed when I spend time in Berlin. So I'm a huge fan, and I think as we leave the European Union, and our mayor Sadiq has talked about that, I think it's so important that London and Berlin, as the two leading tech cities in Europe, continue to collaborate, because we want to build a really strong European tech industry. And we can only do that if we can keep our businesses moving between our cities. And so for that reason, I feel that Berlin is so important to London at the moment. We need to make sure that our entrepreneurs, our successful entrepreneurs in London and Berlin, as their businesses scale, think, I could expand to Germany, I could expand to the UK, and don't necessarily automatically turn, for example, to North America, when there are so many opportunities closer to home. So I'm very excited about continuing the relationship.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So Stefan, when we officially opened our German representation about 2 years ago, we chose Berlin for one of our 2 offices. Berlin is our main office, so and we launched in Berlin first. Berlin Partner was immediately super keen to support and work with us. We signed a partnership agreement during the official launch in March 2019. So how do you think this partnership has come to life? And give us some of the top examples for you.
Yeah, thank you that you mentioned the moment where you decided to come to Berlin to open up an office. I think it was the right side because the time was the right. Our ecosystem, especially in terms of the startups, they want that Berlin and London work together. And I remember very well our first process, what we do together on the South by Southwest in Austin 2019. Unfortunately, this year, we know why, we can't repeat it. But in 2019, we show the world that London and Berlin have an amazing ecosystem, and when they want to learn how startups are doing business with established industry and how talents inspire our ecosystem worldwide, then that was our message in Austin to come to Europe, to come to London, and to come to Berlin, because these both cities are open for the people, for the innovators. And a couple of weeks ago, we had another really great network event because we recognize in the startup system in Berlin, there is a growing, but the growing is in the most focused or fosters comes from the male side. And we think we have to help and we have to focus and we have to mention the female entrepreneurship. And some weeks ago, we had a network meeting, digital for sure, not in the real life, where more than 40 female entrepreneurs are explaining how the ecosystem in London works, how the ecosystem in Berlin works, and how we can join forces to foster the female power in our both cities. And I think these are really good 2 examples how we as a business organization can help our ecosystem in London and elsewhere in Berlin.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it was a great event. Laura, tell us one or two of your highlights of our London and Partners projects with Berlin.
I think my highlights have been when we have brought groups of fast-growing London businesses to Berlin to really understand the opportunities that the German market offers. So we have brought two missions over since we opened our office. One, a group of creative tech companies, and the other, a group of fintech companies. And when we say trade mission, I think people imagine maybe something quite old-fashioned, but these are high-growth, scale-up businesses, and they have spent time with many thanks to Berlin Partners for supporting, really understanding what's the scale of the market, who are my potential investors, who are my potential clients, pitching investors, and really getting some business done. And so for me, that's been the most exciting thing, because we can have all the nice words that we want at events like this, but ultimately this is about creating real business relationships and commercial success. So I think for me, those two missions have been really powerful, and looking forward to many more.
There are more in the pipeline for sure. Given how Berlin and London have worked together during the past couple of years, and not forgetting the challenges lying ahead of us, are you happy to reaffirm our partnership that is basically running out now?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I've got it prepared, the Cities to Cities Businesses Welcome Agreement, and I'm going to hand it over virtually, doing some magic, to Laura now.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I'm going to sign it now. There we are. I have signed it, and I'm going to pass it by the magic of Zoom over to Stefan.
Okay, I'm looking forward, and here we are. Thank you very much. So, and now I have the pleasure to sign it too, our agreement. So thank you very much. Here is it. Yeah.
And here's my version.
Thank you very much.
And
Stefan,
for the.
What are you most excited about in the new partnership?
Yes. I think really we have some things in the sector of smart city and AI, the upcoming big things where our startups could collaborate, and where we invite startups from London and investors from London to go and make business in London and vice versa. I think this is very important in this time of the globalization, and thank you for being part of that game.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like Berlin and Germany generally has such strengths around the urban sectors, whether it's advanced mobility, smart cities, clean tech. There are really areas that we have a lot to learn in London. And I'm really excited about how we can use this partnership to make sure that we can be scaling businesses from Germany into London to solve some of our really big urban challenges.
Thanks so much. So that was the official signing of the partnership agreement. Now, one more question from my side. What in each of the other cities do you admire most, both on a personal but also on a professional level? So maybe you, Laura, first.
Well, as I said, I love how free and how creative Berlin is. I guess on a personal level, it's a very relaxed city. And there are many things I could say about London, but it's not relaxed. And that's why I love London. It's not so relaxed. And I love that Berlin is able to combine this real vibrancy and energy and getting loads of stuff done, but this feeling of being quite relaxed and casual and informal as well. And I personally love that about Berlin. I think it's a wonderful city, and I love visiting. And I hope that soon we'll be able to visit you again.
Using the new airport.
Using the new airport. Absolutely.
Stefan.
Yeah, I love London. When I'm walking around in London, I feel the history of the past centuries, and this is really great to see and to smell and to come in contact with that. And then I love that some things are really similar to Berlin. because I love the food in the food courts in London, and the diversity of the people and the open-minded. That's really a really great environmental to make business and to be in a pleasure time there. So it's really both. And one thing I prefer more in London than in Berlin, this is your football team. So we have to learn a lot of in this term.
Great. Thanks so much, Stefan. Thanks so much, Laura. Thanks for being here. London and Berlin will continue to work together and definitely strengthen their economic and cultural ties. The challenging times have made us come even closer together. We've heard some of the examples. So watch this space for what is coming next, and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter for updates and how you can get involved. Our twinning anniversary celebration, long words, continues. So could I have the agenda slide, please? So we have an action-packed agenda for you today. You can see the next session, but I will talk about all the different sessions that we have upcoming. So we have Harnessing the International Talent Pool starting right after this one, Creative in Berlin and London, in conversation with RiseFX and The Mill starting at 11 GMT. Following that, 20 years, 2 fintech cities, 1 fantastic relationship, starting at 12 GMT, alongside innovation and healthcare and smart infrastructure for future mobility, also all at 12 p.m. And we've closed off our celebration day, our London-Berlin day, with AI in Europe. So after a very short break of probably 2-3 minutes, my colleague Prue Ashby, head of key accounts at London Partners, will dive into how London and Berlin attract and keep talent and foster homegrown talent, enabling both capitals to compete on international stages. Panelists include Impact, Zalando, Tier Mobility, and Propel Recruiting. So you can stay tuned in on that current live stream. It will start in 3 minutes. A big thank you from me to everybody for having joined the CEO panel and the reaffirmation of the London-Berlin Partnership Agreement. Thanks again, Laura. Thanks again, Stefan. And to everybody, stay healthy, stay safe. And see you again soon.
Bye.